Here in Washington, I think there's been one trend that's been impossible to ignore, and that is the movement out of Washington. So I am Veronica Morris, your East Side and Seattle real estate broker, and I have a very special guest today, and this is Tom Kastorff. Tom is a big real estate agent over in the Summerlin, Nevada area, and I'm having him on today because yes, we've seen a movement out of Washington, but some of the top articles you've been seeing is that the one state and area that has been gaining a lot of Washington's wealth, as in migration to them, has been the Nevada, Las Vegas area. So, Tom, so great to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself really quick? Just give a little brief intro.
Thanks, Veronica. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here. I would love to take more Seattleites moving to Las Vegas, so I'm glad to be here. Tom Kastorff, longtime high-tech sales executive, like many Seattle and Bellevue and Kirkland area. Spent a lot of years in high-tech, Intels and AMDs, AWS. I know that landscape.
Good.
Eventually became an investor and relocated myself, so very familiar with the migration patterns from California and Washington to Las Vegas. I've done it myself. Moved here and then became all things real estate investor, realtor, fellow EXP, real estate tax strategist, and now just trying to help people buy, sell, and invest here in the Las Vegas area. And we are seeing a lot of migrations coming from Washington for all the things you mentioned, with the millionaire's tax and just our way of life here. So excited to be on today.
Perfect. Yay. Well, first and foremost, I mean, you already said that you're seeing people come from Nevada side. So what are the trends that you're seeing from Seattle specifically right now?
Yeah, that landscape's becoming volatile, right? I mean, it's not so much doom and gloom. I mean, Seattle's still a great place to live, Kirkland and Bellevue and all the places. It's more financial freedom, lifestyle optimization, right? We like to kind of say buyers can feel like they're graduating to Summerlin or Henderson or Dragon Ridge. They're not escaping Seattle. Some people are still keeping their homes there, like my recent buyer. So that new millionaire's tax coming in 28. Look, that's gonna upset a lot of people, right? When you have an income over $1 million, which is very prevalent now, especially with all the high tech workers you have up there, the AWS, the OpenAIs, the Microsoft, Meta. Again, on the tax side of things that I do, we see a lot of these engineers making millions of dollars with RSUs. We saw this week with SpaceX. There's janitors making $1 million, right? It's crazy. And so when you think about senior executives and longtime software engineers, these guys are making $1 million years in income, multiple millions in RSUs. And so they're already getting taxed to death. Everyone is, in the United States. But then you start handing down an extra 10% just for showing up and working every day, right? That's causing people to look around. And so we talked about it earlier. The second largest migration point for Greater Las Vegas after Los Angeles, which has its own problems. Let's not even go there. That is like predominant by 10x from LA for all the things going on there. The second largest migration is Seattle. And so like my recent buyer is a great example. He's a big golfer, right? He loves being outside. His second home is in La Quinta. And so Vegas is very similar to that Palm Springs, La Quinta, desert, golf. We have a lot of golf. We have a lot of TPC golf courses here, a lot of private golf tennis communities. You can be outside. People joke about Seattle. Oh, it's great in July and August, right? But that's what we get here. It's sunny at 6 in the morning until 9 at night. You want to go out and golf, you want to be in your pool all day. That's what's great here. And so a lot of folks want to move to Seattle to kind of live that lifestyle year round of a lot of sun. It's cold in the winter, but it's not as cold in Minnesota or some of those places, right? But it is for us Californians. It is cold. But people want to move here to golf, the lifestyle. They don't want to be taxed to death. Our gas is cheaper. Our property taxes are generally cheaper. The no income tax, the retirement tax is a little cheaper. So, it's kind of an optimization of all those things to move here. So
Yeah.
we're starting to get that from a lot of Oregon, a lot of Washington, and the California just doesn't stop, right? The
Right.
top two markets are LA and San Francisco, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. But but Seattle is starting to creep up a bit for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, I mean, so like you mentioned, and we talked about this earlier, you had a pretty large buyer, property purchased for a
Yeah,
buyer from Bellevue of all places. So tell me, what was his or her main
yeah,
reason that they moved over there? And
yeah.
are
Great
they
question.
moving there? You said he had the clean tip, but
Hmm?
is he just changing his primary residence to Summerlin?
Yeah, he's a great use case. Him and his wife. They are born and raised Seattleites. Love it up there. They have a great house in Bellevue on the water. No designs to leave, but they sold a big business. Again, you can kind of a lot of the use cases are similar, whether it's high tech, Boeing employees selling a business, or they feel like they've been taxed to death already,
Yeah.
existing capital gains tax, all right. So he feels targeted a little bit, right? And he's just kind of angry, salty about it. And so he's always going to have his Bellevue house, and I've seen pictures, beautiful house. I wouldn't leave it. These guys like keep the house. That's where he likes to go in the shoulder seasons, right? Your kind of fall and spring, or really winter, right? The snowbird
Mhm.
type of thing. But he's like, hey, I don't want to keep my tax basis. I have generational wealth in my family, and I'm going to hand to my kids. And I'm not going to have that tax to death over my last 10, 20, 30 years of my life. So he simply bought a second or third home here in Summerlin, $4 million, beautiful single story turnkey, right on the golf course, facing the Red Rock Mountains. One of the unique things people think about Vegas, I think Strip, but we are bordered by mountains and lakes, right? It's an outdoor mecca here. So, he came out and he's like, I want to ride the golf course. I'm a big golfer. I want mountain views. I want to feel like I'm in Palm Springs, with all the benefits of Nevada with no income tax and lower. So he immediately, once that millionaire tax became more concrete, he said, I'm just moving my tax basis. So we are seeing, a dynamic of people that are moving full time, but a lot of them just kind of that optimization of, hey, I'm going to move my tax basis here and come here 6 months out of the year and still go back to Bellevue in those wonderful July and August months, and go to my seafair. And then kind of the winter shoulder months is down like Quintas. So that's a big use case. And so we are seeing a lot of those buyers in that $1 to $4 million range and even higher. It
Okay.
was Summit Club. Summit Club's getting up to 14, 20 million. Happy to help those buyers if you're ready. But that 1 to 4 million is a great sweet spot where you can get a really nice luxury house, turnkey fixer, golf course, tennis, all the things that people are looking for with that outdoor lifestyle.
Okay. And I mean, that's a great point. When we talk about not only is it okay, let's go backwards for a second because I really like that you said, I think what people don't realize is, okay, the millionaire's tax is one, but Washington State's other taxes that they've been
Yeah.
proposing and putting into place is a whole nother another sector. And what I like that you said is that I think most people, especially here, they go, oh, like there can't be that many people making over $1 million a year. Well, maybe not from their current job, but you know what, you
Yeah.
never know what they were involved in for before. And those capital gains taxes on stocks and RSUs, I mean, that's a huge
Yeah.
thing. And then I personally also know a lot of people, the inheritance tax and the estate tax,
Huge.
that's been a huge driver. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I think it's what people just don't realize that a lot of this millionaire tax talk was kind of the cherry on top, icing on the cake of everything else over the last couple of years. So,
Correct.
which I think is just going to keep this moving. So thank you for bringing that up. I I want to hear about the market. What are we getting in Nevada homes wise? So talk about like what can we get? I mean, you're in Summerlin, so I mean, let's talk about kind of greater Las Vegas, Summerlin area.
Yeah.
Um, what can you get for what? What are you seeing people kind of from Washington gravitate towards?
Yeah. Great question. So the beauty of Las Vegas, it's a big town, right? We always joke, people think of Las Vegas, they think of one thing,
Yeah.
3 mile strip of fun and bachelor parties and music and entertainment.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that town has grown massively. It's over 3 million people now. It's very large. You have Henderson to the south. You have Lake Las Vegas. You have Summerlin to the west. Clark County is a wide swath everywhere from you can still buy condos here for 100, $150,000, which for those of us from Seattle, from San Diego, those are barely down payments, right? So yes, the certain pockets of luxury are expensive, but that's anywhere in the United States, right? You can't go buy a $150,000 condo in New York City, for example, right? So, um, the median price has ticked up, right? Actually, the median price for single family homes reached a record high in May. So while it's still a weird market and inventory is wobbling, our median across all single family homes in Vegas hit 490,000. So to a lot of people, that is still very affordable, right? I
Deal.
mean, that's crazy, right? Again, that's not even half a house where I come from in San Diego, maybe even a third in most of the coastal parts of California, LA, Bellevue, stuff like that. So it is still a very affordable town. Everything's always come down to your buy box, right? Where do you want to live? What are you looking for? Do you need guard gated? Do you need a house? Do you want a pool? Do you want a good school district? Do you need to be close to the airport? Do you need to be close to the strip because you're in tourism and hospitality? Or do you want to be in an outskirt you don't really care about? There's a lot of people here that don't care that they live in Las Vegas for what most people live here for, the strip and the entertainment. They just want to live in Nevada. They want to live in a low income tax state. They want to live in the desert. A lot of people move here from the Midwest because they're just tired of the cold. They don't want to live in negative 10-degree winters.
Yeah.
To them, they wear shorts and hoodies in January and they laugh because we say, oh, it's cold. They're like, you want cold? Go back to Fargo, in February. It's negative 20, 35 is like a summer day. And everything's context, right? And so it's always great to talk to people. Everyone's different. But our median here is around 490. Again, you can still get condos for, I own a luxury rental condo near the strip that's 470,000. It's a luxury 2 bed, 2 bath, full turnkey building, pool, strip views, 480,000. I mean, that's crazy in a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
You can get 150, but then to your question of like folks coming from, higher end luxury in LA or San Francisco or Bellevue, let's think high tech workers or doctors, physicians, people that are moving here with more remote jobs or high income jobs. That's typically going to be in the 1 to 3 million range, right? You can still get a pretty nice brand new house for $1 million, $1.2 million with a pool. You start, getting into the guard gated communities, which is popular. People want that guard gated. They want security because a lot of these high end executives are travelers for work or business or family. They want their home to be safe when they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be in a good school district. That starts creeping to 2 million here in Red Rock or 3 million in the Ridges. But look, if you're Mark Wahlberg and some of these UFC guys and you want really high end exclusive, that's taking you into the Summit Club. That's the Ultra. The median there is 14 million and up. There's dirt in there still for sale, 10 million.
Sorry, how far is that from like the areas you're talking to?
Those are all generally Summerlin, right?
Okay.
So Summerlin is kind of like a long rectangle on the left
Mm-hmm.
of Vegas. Vegas is just kind of like a big circle or a big square, with the strip in the middle, the airport. It's a lot like Scottsdale, right? It's a big grid, which is what's also great about Las Vegas. You move from San Diego, the streets go like this, and it terminates 50 miles away, and you're like, wow, I'm still in that street. Here, everything's a grid. It's great. It's, when we moved here, I told my wife, we got lost, just get on Sahara or Charleston and go left, towards the mountain, because it's just a big grid. And so Summerlin is just a long rectangle adjacent to the Red Rock Mountains, right? We have a lot of rock climbing right here. It's in my backyard. And so all the luxury is kind of in one spot, and then you have Henderson and some Dragon Ridge down in the bottom corner. But the pockets are very defined.
Mm-hmm.
And so Summerlin is about 100,000 people. It's still pretty small relative to a lot of, like we talked about earlier, Scottsdale. Scottsdale's a bit more mature and a lot bigger. Summerlin is still a pretty tight community of 100,000 people. And you've got generally 5, 6, 7 different neighborhoods. In some sub pockets, Paseos, Vistas will get you still 6, 7, 800,000. And then, you go 2 miles away and you're in the Ridges where the average is 3 or 4 million up to 12, right? You want an acre and a half with a compound. That's 8,000 square feet. Ridges is only 10 minutes away. So they're all still very close to each other. Downtown Summerlin, we call DTS, is right in the middle. Very, very easy commutes. Again, that's another thing people like is they want to get out of this kind of suburban, Seattle freeze. Everything's pretty close by here. Like you can shake a stick at Red Rock Casino and downtown Summerlin. Everyone's within about a 10-minute drive to that, which is really nice, but it's still pretty open, right?
Yeah.
So very comfortable.
Good. All right. So for people that have moved over there that you've found that are transplant and migrating from the LAs, the Seattles, the San Franciscos,
Yeah,
what have you heard or what do you think is kind of the number one thing that surprises them after moving?
there's a couple, good and bad, right? So I'll start with like the unexpected bad. Wind. Look, if you don't like wind, this is not the place for you. Um,
Storm
there
like
are
that, right?
gale force winds some days where, I'll get a text from my wife. She's like, "You better batten the hatches," and I got to run out, take down all the umbrellas and cushions, and you'll be in your neighborhood Facebook group. I got 10 trash cans in front of my house because they all trash can day. They all just blow down the street. I've got 18, pool cushions in my backyard. Whose are they? So there's some funky stuff. Wind. In August, we'll get those kind of desert storms, what they call in Arizona haboobs,
Hmm.
where it will just rain, wind, sand. You're like, wow, where double click my heels. Where am I? Am I in Kansas? So there's, allergies. Some people move here like myself. I'm from San Diego, never had an allergy in my life. Apparently, I'm allergic to the desert. Um, Still not ripping me away from it. But, in terms of the positives, two things come to mind. We are an unexpected outdoor mecca, right? We have rock climbing right here. Red Rock runs right through Vegas. If you've ever seen the popular Netflix documentary Free Solo with Annex Honnold, where he free soloed,
Okay.
the mountains out in Tahoe, and he just free soloed a building in Tokyo. He moved here full time because the rock climbing and the free climbing in Red Rock is unparalleled outside of the Sierras in California. We have Lake Mead, we have Lake Las Vegas, we have golf, we have Mount Charleston, which is usually 20 to 30 degrees cooler. It's only half an hour away. It has a little ski resort. Vegas,
Never know
when it's
that.
110 and you can party your face off, we have skiing 25 minutes away. Now, the season is not very long, but it's 25 minutes away. You could wake up, do a Zoom, go ski for 22 hours, and come back and still work. Pickleball is all the rage, tennis, right? Because of our year-round weather. So a lot of people don't realize, aside from the fun and the tax savings, there's a lot to do outdoors. We have hundreds of miles of walking trails, and then quickly, we've become a sports mecca. 10 years ago, Vegas didn't have a single team. And now, if you're into hockey, we just finished our third Stanley Cup final appearance in 9 years of having a new hockey team, which is unprecedented to be in the finals. And I grew up with no hockey. I'm over here wearing a hockey jersey and a hat and rooting for Golden Knights. It has taken over this town a lot like the 12th man is for you, or if you're a basketball fan with Kentucky Wildcats, right? I went to a Kentucky game at Rupp. Grandmas are wearing face paint and decked out. So VGK, we have the Raiders, right? We just stole Kubiak from Seattle. We have Mendoza, the first draft pick. So the Raiders are rebuilding. The A's are moving here from Oakland. They are building a beautiful stadium at the old side of the Tropicana on the Strip. So the Strip is going to have another phenomenal, high level sports arena next to T-Mobile, where the Golden Knights play, where the WNBA Aces play, and the Aces have won now, I think, four WNBA titles. And Aja is a four-time MVP if you're into women's basketball. Aces have just been crushing it. So, really the only question is like, and then the NBA. The NBA, I think, has finally come out and said, hey, aside from Seattle getting their team back, I think we're the next one too, right? And so there's rumors of all these high-end billionaires and Tom Brady's and LeBron's and Magic Johnson all scrambling to be a part of the ownership team here because they've seen what the Golden Knights have done, what the Raiders Allegiant Stadium have done, and they're like, we want in. I mean, so we're quickly going to go from 10 years ago having nothing to we're going to have every major sports team and every major facility, and we still have minor league baseball, and we have minor league hockey. It is quickly a sports mecca, and it's just like, how quickly can I fill up my agenda and go to a game and all the different things. So it's, a lot of people think of, oh, I don't want to leave LA and the Dodgers and the Rams or Seattle. We've got every type of team here. We've got every type of outdoor sport and activity. The last thing I'll say, my wife and I joke all the time. We turn down more invites to things because of that than we can. You could do something every day and night here in Vegas, right? We didn't even touch on conferences down at the Strip and AWS has their reInvent, Dell World, and
Shows and
friends
stuff
are
going
always
on there. Yeah.
yeah, friends are always in town for tech conferences or Luke Combs, right? I'm kind of a country guy now because everyone's into it. Luke Combs had the biggest sellout of Allegiant Stadium he's ever had, and that's in Vegas, not in Nashville, not in Texas. That's in Vegas, right? So it's you will quickly have to pick your spots of things to do, and that has been a pleasant surprise for us being a relocation ourselves
Mhm.
from San Diego. Is, are we going to make friends? Are we going to have enough to do? Holy smokes. Like you don't, please do not be worried moving here unless you're a hermit. You know the old saying, you have to get out your house to make friends, to build a social circle for sure. You have to create your own infrastructure and friends. But once you do, there's so much to do here. Do not be worried about moving here. You'll make plenty of friends. You'll have plenty to do. It's just what do you want to do and when, and filling up your calendar is very easy here.
You're
That was
great.
a long way to answer
Salesperson sounds great. I'll move to Vegas.
that. Yeah,
Well, especially as I know it's always hard to meet new people. And I think I was a transplant in San Diego at one point.
yeah,
It's when you go to a place where it has a lot of other transplants as well,
big piece.
it's almost easier.
Yes,
Everyone is wanting to be out. Everyone's in the same boat. So I think they make themselves a little
100%.
bit more available and a little bit more open to do so. So that's great to hear on that part. Um,
100%. We did move here during COVID, so that helped because
yeah,
everyone had kind of transplanted here. It was in the same boat. Hey, I don't know you. Let's get out of the house and do something. But you remind me, that is a big piece of it. Is a lot of people here transplants. Everyone's joining a new school or trying to make new friends. And so again, unless you're just a hermit, you leave your house, you get your kids in school and you get involved. It's very easy because everyone is kind of starting over. Everyone has a couple friends they know here, but everyone's looking to meet new people and build a new social circle.
yeah.
And so it does make it easier.
No, that's great. Well, I know we had a couple of questions that I had in mind about, the market, and you touched on everything. So I might throw you a little bit of a curveball just because you are in the tax world and the
Yeah.
world. So, and maybe it's not that great of a question because it's a little bit, it's going to be towards each person. But at what point in someone's wealth or net worth do you feel like is a significant savings from somewhere like Seattle or LA over to Nevada?
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, everything's always personal because
Of course.
5 million to one is life changing, and to others, it's a rounding error as you quickly learn living in these high-end markets. My buyer flew down on a private jet, right? So,
Yeah.
everyone's different. So, but yeah, once you start creeping into those, 5, 10 million and above, the little things add up quickly, right? To we said earlier, you start talking about capital gains and generational wealth and inheritance tax. Once you start getting to 10 million and above, that extra 9.9% millionaire tax, that becomes very material, right? If you're making 100 grand a year, maybe it doesn't matter. When you start getting to multi-millions and you're cashing out millions of your Meta or AWS or OpenAI SpaceX stock, and that extra 10% takes 100 grand or a million out of your pocket, what could that have bought you, right? And then multiply it, right? My buyer's in, I think he's generally in the $100 million area, right? So if you're in that landscape, 10, 50, 100 million, the extra 10% here and 10% there over every year on your lifetime and on inheritance, that is, I don't like to use the word stealing, but that's stealing a lot of wealth from you and your family. So it does start to make sense when you look at property tax, like you said earlier, wealth tax, millionaire tax, income tax, gas. My parents are always like, "Oh, gas is $6, $7. Look, it adds up." So everyone has to sit down and say, "Hey, I love it here, but," and that's where my buyer came from. He loves Bellevue, but at what point does it make sense that I'm going to move my tax basis? I'm going to move my family because over time, the compounding effect of taking that extra 5 and 10% here and there becomes millions of dollars. And so, that's where having a good tax guy or a good tax strategist, a good financial advisor. I always tell people to get a good fee-only financial advisor, not a captive guy who's only trying to sell you things, but a fee-only guy who can say, advisor could say, hey, let's zoom out and look at everything holistically and math it out from a tax and financials perspective. If you make this move in over 5, 10, 20 years, what does it mean to your income, your wealth, your family's inheritance? it's millions of dollars, right? So, I do think in that 5 to 10 million range, it quickly becomes a math problem that every high earner should consider. And happy to fly you out and take a look around and consider all the different markets, but it is a big math problem. And to some people, they're going to stay and they're going to be a diehard Seattleite and diehard Bellevue. For others, it's just not worth it anymore, right? And so everyone has to sit down and say what's worth it. For us in California, between 37% tax brackets and the homeless population and just political environment, we decided it's enough. And we could see what our money could buy here. And that's what we're seeing is, wow, I can sell my $2 million home in San Diego and get a 5 times larger home and a guard gated and a lower tax bracket. It just starts to make sense. So, but everyone's different.
Of course. No, very helpful. And, it's all with the big picture. I'm still here to be
Yep.
everyone's Kirkland, Bellevue, Seattle real estate expert. And my goal is that to get ahead of things. And, maybe there are some people that have been thinking about it, or, maybe people are like, ooh, I'm about to get a payout at work. I should probably start thinking about things. I want to be your advisor, not only here, but in other areas as well. You've
Absolutely.
probably been here. Bellevue and Kirkland are the most beautiful areas, in Seattle as
Mm,
a whole. I've yet to find somewhere more beautiful than here, but there comes a point in people's lives where if they have to make the migration out because that works best for them, I want to have a
yeah.
trusted person like Tom on my side so that we know that you're being taken care of and someone who can really tell you, is this a good move for you and not. So Tom, thank you for being here today. I'm just excited. I think we can work a lot together. And of course, if
Right.
anyone is thinking about a Nevada move, in the greater kind of Vegas, Summerlin, all that area, Tom is definitely your go-to, and I'll put his information below. But you can also reach out to me to get an introduction as well.
Absolutely. Look, the millionaire's tax isn't coming till 2028, but that comes quickly. You know, you don't want to get stuck at the last minute. That's what my buyer says. Like, look, I'm not waiting the extra 2 years. Everyone's different. You want to move your tax basis before it comes. But, I'm sure some people are, having head fakes and, they're kind of waiting this out. But, time moves fast. So
Yeah.
you're a professional in your arena. I'm a professional in mine. We're here to help our clients make educated decisions. No obligation, no rush. But, time moves fast. And the next thing you know, you're getting slapped with that tax 1 year and you're like, oh shoot, did I wait too long? So, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people are hesitating just to wait and see. And I mean, are you seeing still people on the fence just kind of waiting out the last few years? Is that kind of the last thing I'll ask is just it's not here yet, but
I don't think it's really hit. I mean, for those that are the ultra wealthy, yes, we have seen an exodus over there, absolutely. I think it's still new for a lot of people to understand, is this going to pass? And I think then people are going to go, oh, maybe I'm not a
yeah,
millionaire right now, but maybe my assets, or maybe all the combinations. Again, I don't think people are thinking that ahead yet about
yeah,
multiple years ahead of them. So yes, ultra wealthy, I've definitely seen exodus. Other ends, it's still just in this very let's see what happens stages.
wait
But
and see. Yeah,
yeah, but I do like what you said, you don't want to wait till it's too late.
correct.
But again, and some people are willing to pay that, maybe it's a sunshine tax in California, and here
Yep,
it's
similar.
a, green lush tax, whatever it means.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right.
Well, a lot of people will just buy a second home here, test it out, keep their home in Bellevue and go back and forth, and then maybe sell later, and then that's where you come in to be their luxury listing agent. But if they want to come down and look, it never hurts to start looking ahead. I think that's the one difference between different asset classes is that high income, high net worth people are always looking a few years ahead, and that's what we've started to see. Again, that wealth tax doesn't come 28, but a lot of those people really think a little more strategically than most people.
Yeah.
That's one thing I take away from networking with those folks is they're just always 5 steps ahead. And so I try and think the same way. It doesn't mean everyone has to, but it's something that I think, from us speaking here is I always advise people is always think ahead, right? You don't want to get caught. And then everyone starts thinking the same way. And then we all know prices go up when everyone starts making the same move. So sometimes getting ahead of it can get you in a little more of a buy and sell advantage as well. But
Absolutely.
that's what we do for a living.
Exactly. Well, for all of us watching, whether it's Bellevue, Kirkland, Summerlin, Nevada, Vegas, think ahead and reach out to us if you have any questions. And again, thank you, Tom, for explaining everything. And we will hope to give some business back and forth to each other soon.
Thanks, Veronica. It's been a pleasure, and hope to hear from all you guys soon. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.